You know, we see headlines about the environment pretty much every single day. But what do they really mean? It's one thing to be aware that there are problems, but it's another thing entirely to really truly grasp them. So in this explainer, we're going to build a framework to help us move from just knowing about stuff to having real, actionable knowledge.
From climate change to pollution, let's be honest, the environmental challenges we face are huge. And being truly informed, well, it's not just about throwing around buzzwords. It's about understanding the systems, the causes, and the potential solutions. So the real question is, how do we even get there?
And look, the stakes could not be higher. By 2025, and you guys, that's right around the corner, 2/3 of the entire world's population is expected to be dealing with water shortages. This isn't some far-off abstract threat, this is an urgent reality, and it shows us that just being aware is nowhere near enough. We need a much deeper understanding. Okay, so to tackle problems this big, you can't just wing it. You need a plan, and that's exactly where this framework comes in. We're going to walk through a structured way, let's call it a competency, for building up our environmental knowledge one solid step at a time. At the very heart of this framework is a simple but really powerful idea. This competency we're talking about, it isn't about memorizing a bunch of facts for a test. It's a mix of understanding the core science, knowing what's happening in the world today, and having a real grasp on what sustainability actually means. Think of this as our roadmap for the journey ahead.
So what does this roadmap cover? Well, it's got 4 key parts. It all starts with that core knowledge, like how does an ecosystem actually work? Then it's about staying aware of the big global issues. Add to that a solid understanding of sustainability principles. And maybe the most important part, being able to take all of that and apply it to solve real-world problems.
I want you to imagine this whole journey like you're climbing a ladder. Each rung you step on represents a deeper level of understanding. As we go through each level, it's a perfect chance for you to think about, hey, where am I on this ladder right now? And what could my next step be?
All right, let's start at the bottom of the ladder. Every journey has a first step. And on our ladder, that's level 1, the foundation. This is the starting point for pretty much everyone. It's where we go from knowing very little to having a basic awareness of the world around us.
So what does this actually look like? Well, someone at the foundational level can define key terms you hear all the time, like ecosystem or biodiversity. They can list off the common issues we all know about, plastic in the oceans, deforestation. It's really about knowing what the problems are.
Now, let's climb up to the next rung. We've reached level 2, capable. And this is where things start to get really interesting. We begin to connect the dots and move from just knowing what the problems are to understanding why they're happening in the first place.
See, at the capable level, the focus totally shifts to explanation. You're not just listing issues anymore. You can actually explain the mechanics behind something like the carbon cycle. You can describe the main drivers of climate change, and crucially, you can start drawing a line between human actions and specific environmental outcomes.
The next step up is a big one. At level 3, you're considered proficient. This is a huge leap because this is where knowledge stops being something you just have and it becomes an active tool you can use for analysis and even for solving problems.
Someone who's proficient can take a complex issue, like those water shortages we talked about, and really break it down. They can propose sustainable solutions that could actually work. And, so importantly, they can evaluate the whole picture, the environmental, the social, and the economic impacts of any decision.
And that brings us to the very top of the ladder. Level 4, authoritative. This is so much more than just knowing things. We're talking about a deep, integrated expertise that can actually guide and influence other people.
A person at this level can look at environmental policies and offer a really sophisticated critique. They see the whole system, how economics, policy, and ecology all tangle together, and they can use that incredible breadth of knowledge to tackle our most complex challenges.
So there you have it, the full journey laid out. You start with that simple awareness at the foundation level. You build a solid understanding at capable. You learn to analyze and solve at proficient. And you get all the way to the expert insight of the authoritative level. Each step builds right on top of the last, creating a clear path to true understanding.
So think about it this way. As you're climbing this ladder, you're not just gaining levels, you're actually filling up an environmental toolkit. So let's peek inside and see what essential knowledge and skills you pick up along the way.
So what's in this toolkit? Well, you've got the essentials. A solid understanding of ecology, how we use natural resources, the causes of pollution, the nitty-gritty of climate change, and of course, the key principles of sustainable development. These are your core tools.
And once you have this toolkit, you can start to make sense of the complex impacts of our everyday lives. All of a sudden, big issues like urbanization, the real footprint of fast fashion, or the consequences of food waste become so much clearer. You have the tools to see how it's all connected.
But knowledge is only half the battle. It's also about how you think. Building the right mindset means actively researching things, analyzing data to spot cause and effect, using systems thinking to see the big picture, trying to predict future impacts, and finally, being able to explain these big, complex ideas clearly to other people.
Okay, so we've climbed the ladder, we've built a toolkit. Why does any of this really matter? Well, because making this journey, climbing this ladder of understanding, that's what lets us move from just being informed to taking truly impactful action.
And here is where the difference becomes so incredibly clear. Basic awareness lets you recognize that a problem exists, but integrated knowledge, that lets you develop solutions. It is the massive shift from making a small personal impact to driving real systemic change, the kind of change that can actually inform policy and empower whole communities.
And maybe this is the most important takeaway of all. I think this quote just says it perfectly. True environmental literacy isn't about winning a trivia night. It's about fundamentally understanding our connection to the planet and taking responsibility for our place within it.
So, we've laid out the map, we've shown you the ladder, and we've packed the toolkit. The path from just being aware to becoming an expert is clear. The only question left is for you. What's the first step you're going to take?